Vivien Vance's final interview left everyone in tears. Vivien Vance was born Vivian Roberta Jones on July 26, 1909, in the small country town of Cherryvale, Kansas, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone else and daily life moved at a slow, steady pace. She was welcomed into the world by her parents, Robert and Euphemia Jones, who did their best to raise their growing family with rules and old-fashioned values. Vivian was one of 6 children, and growing up in such a busy household shaped a lot of who she became. There was always noise, movement, and lots of back and forth with her brothers and sisters. And Vivian quickly learned how to make herself heard. When she was 6 years old, the Jones family moved to Independence, Kansas, a bigger town that gave Vivian new chances. She went to Independence High School, where she first tried drama classes. Her family had no idea this after-school interest would light up the amazing creative power inside her that would completely change her entire life. On stage, she felt seen, understood, and alive in a way that nothing else had ever made her feel. Even though Vivian's love for acting kept growing, her mother was strongly against the idea of her daughter becoming an actress. Euphemia had an old-fashioned, careful view of the world and believed that the entertainment business was shaky and not right for a young woman. Her disapproval was so strong that it caused constant fights in their home, but Vivian wasn't the type to give up easily. She had a quiet but clear streak of independence, the kind that only got stronger when someone tried to stop her. Rebelling for her wasn't wild or crazy. It was on purpose. She changed her last name to Vance, a meaningful step toward building a life she chose for herself. She found odd jobs and small ways to support her dream. Late at night, she'd sneak out of her bedroom window, slipping into the cool Kansas evenings to practice, try out for shows, or simply dream beyond the limits being placed on her. Eventually, determined to throw herself fully into acting, she moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico to pursue acting as a real career. In 1930, Vivian had her first real chance when she appeared in a show at the Albuquerque Little Theater. It was a small beginning, but it was hers, and it mattered. From there, things started moving forward. Vivian began appearing in lots of local shows, including plays like This Thing Called Love and The Crazy. It was a kind act that changed her future. Vivian jumped into the busy world of New York theater with energy and determination. She began her Broadway career in 1932, first working in the chorus, a physically tough and often underappreciated job, but one that taught her discipline and how to command a stage. She slowly worked her way into supporting parts, earning valuable experience that sharpened her comedy skills and dramatic instincts. In 1937, she landed a supporting role in the musical Hooray for What?, marking her step away from the chorus line and toward bigger roles. By 1941, she achieved her biggest early-stage success when she starred in Cole Porter's musical, Let's Face It, playing Nancy Collister. Her performance won lots of praise, helping cement her reputation as a talented comedy actress with a warm, relatable stage presence. Vivian moved to California in 1947, right as Hollywood was booming. After years of hard work in theater, she began dipping her toes into the world of movies. In 1950, she made her movie debut in The Secret Fury, where she played Leah, a chambermaid, a small part, but a start nonetheless. Soon after, she appeared in The Blue Veil, playing a character named Alicia, though her film career never reached the same heights as her work on stage and television. These roles showed her range and her desire to keep exploring new paths in entertainment. It was her performance in the play The Voice of the Turtle that proved to be life-changing. Yes. And producer Jess Oppenheimer saw her on stage and were struck by her natural comedy presence. They were searching for the perfect actress to play Ethel Mertz in their upcoming television comedy show, I Love Lucy. While the character of Ethel was supposed to be older and less glamorous than Vivian actually was, Desi felt strongly that Vivian was the right choice, and he was absolutely right. In 1951, I Love Lucy premiered on American television and quickly struck a chord with viewers nationwide. Vivian's portrayal of Ethel, loyal, funny, slightly long-suffering, and brilliantly reactive, made her an instant audience favorite. The show became one of the most successful comedies in American history, running for 7 incredibly popular years. Even after the original series ended, Vivian continued to play her beloved character. In 1954, she appeared again as Ethel Mertz on Texaco's Star Theater. From 1957 to 1960, she starred in the Lucy Daisy Comedy Hour, once again bringing Ethel's wit and warmth into the living rooms of millions of fans. In 1960, when Lucille Ball returned to television with the new series, The Lucy Show, she wanted Vivian by her side. At first, Vivian wasn't sure. She had grown frustrated that audiences constantly called her Ethel instead of recognizing her as Vivien Vance. Eventually, she agreed to join the show on one condition: that her character would be named Vivian, not Ethel. The request was granted, allowing her to step into a new version of herself while still sharing her undeniable chemistry with Lucille Ball, who by then had become one of her closest friends. After The Lucy Show ended, Vivian accepted a role in the 1965 film The Great Race, a big comedy that earned several Academy Award nominations. Unfortunately, the movie didn't really boost her film career. She had always been somewhat secondary to her success in television and theater. From 1968 to 1974, she made guest appearances on Lucille Ball's next show, Here's Lucy, continuing the decades-long creative partnership that defined much of her career. She also popped up on various other TV programs, including The Red Skelton Show, Guestward, Ho, Off, To See the Wizard, and the beloved sitcom Rhoda. In 1972, she lent her voice to the animated TV special The Lorax, adding another skill to her list. Over the next few years, she appeared in more television specials, such as The Front Page, The Great Houdinis, and Getting Away from It All. She revisited her iconic persona one final time in the TV special Lucy Calls the President, where she portrayed Vivian, formerly Ethel, for the last time. Her final television appearance came in 1978 in the series Sam, closing the curtain on a long, rich, and unforgettable career. Vivien Vance's personal life was as full of twists, turns, and emotional chapters as the characters she brought to life. On screen, she was involved in several relationships over the years, and her romantic history included 4 marriages, each one marking a very different time in her life. Her first marriage in 1928 was to a young man named Joseph Danek Jr. At the time, Vivian was still carving out her place in the world, filled with big dreams and eager to prove herself as an actress. The marriage seemed like a hopeful step toward stability, but the pressures of her early career and the realities of young love quickly proved difficult to handle. After 3 years of trying to balance home life and her growing passion for the stage, the couple divorced, leaving Vivian with an early lesson about the sacrifices her path would continue to demand of her. In 1933, she took another chance on marriage, this time with George Koch. By then, she was more established and confident, but the world of show business continued to pull her in unpredictable directions. The pair stayed together for several years, weathering both personal and professional highs and lows as Vivian's roles expanded and her commitments grew deeper. Despite their best efforts, the marriage began to strain under the weight of her demanding schedule and her constant drive to excel. Ultimately, the couple parted ways in 1940, closing the chapter on a relationship that had seen both tender moments and mounting tensions. Her third marriage, to actor Philip Ober in 1941, lasted nearly 2 decades and was perhaps the most complicated and challenging of all. On the surface, their shared profession seemed like a natural bond, and their early years together were filled with the mutual excitement of working in the same industry. However, as time went on, the marriage became increasingly troubled. Their personalities clashed, and the pressures of Hollywood, along with the expectations placed on Vivian during her I Love Lucy years, added emotional strain. Though their marriage lasted for 18 years, the relationship was far from easy, and the divorce in 1959 marked the end of a long and often painful journey for Vivian. Yet love found its way to her once again. On January 16, 1961, Vivien Vance married John Dodds, a publisher whose calm, steady presence brought a new sense of balance into her life. With him, she found a partnership that felt gentler and more supportive than anything she had known before. The two settled into a peaceful rhythm in Connecticut, where they created a home far from the spotlight of Hollywood and the demanding pace of the entertainment industry. It was during this quieter chapter that Vivian faced one of her greatest personal challenges, a devastating cancer diagnosis. Dodds remained by her side through every doctor's appointment, every anxious night, and every moment of uncertainty, becoming a source of loyalty and strength. Vivien Vance's final interview has become one of those moments in Hollywood history that people still talk about with a kind of quiet respect. It wasn't just another celebrity sitting down to talk about a career or promote a project. This was Vivian opening her heart in a way she rarely let the public see. And by the time she finished, everyone present, from the crew members holding microphones to the interviewer across from her, had tears streaming down their faces. The feeling in that small room felt almost sacred, as if everyone knew they were witnessing the last great burst of light from a woman whose warmth and talent had defined an era. She spoke softly but with unmistakable clarity, thinking back on the moments that shaped her life. "I never expected to be remembered," she said, and the line hit like a punch to the chest. For someone who had been part of one of the most iconic shows in American television history, the vulnerability of that confession made the room go completely. Still, she described her journey from humble beginnings in Kansas to the dazzling pressure of Hollywood, admitting that there were days she felt like the world expected her to be Ethel Mertz every waking hour. "People saw me as the funny friend, the one who cleaned up the mess," she added. "But off-screen, I was still trying to figure out who I was." It was the kind of honesty that peeled away every layer of celebrity and left only the human being underneath. When she talked about Lucille Ball, her voice shook with affection. "Lucy saved my life more than once," Vivian admitted. And it wasn't a line meant for dramatic effect. It was truth. The decades of laughter, the arguments, the making up, and the deeply rooted bond between them spilled out in tender recollections. She remembered the first table read of I Love Lucy when she realized she'd be working beside a woman who was not only a powerhouse performer, but also someone who understood her in ways few ever had. "We made each other brave," she whispered. And even the interviewer had to look away for a moment, blinking back emotion. But it wasn't all nostalgia. Vivian spoke openly about the battles she had fought behind the scenes. With her health, with body image pressures, with the loneliness that sneaks up on actors when the studio lights go out. "People think laughter fixes everything," she said. "But sometimes laughter is the only way you keep going." She didn't seek pity. She wanted the truth to be recorded, something raw and meaningful that showed she had lived her life with intention, strength, and love. Toward the end, her strength began to fade, but she insisted on finishing her thoughts. "If I made someone feel less alone," Vivian said, "then I did something worthwhile." The simplicity of that statement carried more weight than 1,000 grand speeches. Those present said it felt like she was offering a final gift, not to the industry, not to her co-stars, but to the everyday viewers who had welcomed her into their homes for decades. By the time the camera stopped rolling, there wasn't a dry eye anywhere. Technicians who normally kept straight faces were quietly wiping their faces. The interviewer, who had prepared so many questions, could only thank her and hold her hand. For a moment, Vivian had bared her soul, and the truth of her words, gentle, vulnerable, and brave, settled over the room like a soft blanket. Her final interview wasn't just a farewell. It was a reminder of how deeply a single life can resonate. When someone chooses to speak honestly without pretense about what mattered most. And for those lucky enough to witness it, they carried the memory with them forever. In 1977, Vivian suffered a stroke which left her partially paralyzed. Vivian's health got worse during her final few years. She passed away on August 17, 1979.